welcome, issue 3, episode 3 of Dial N for Nerd, the show for nerds who are old enough to remember when Robert De Niro gave a shit.
You're talking to me? Bless him.
Oh dear. Anyway, so I'm Dex. I'm part of the hosting team here, based in Minneapolis, over in Liverpool right now, and coming to us from Game Freak blog. We have Tony. As
Yo,
usual.
yo.
How you doing, T? You okay?
Yo. Yes, fine, thank you. Looking
So we're
forward to
gonna
another
try-
amazing show, which is going to be.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I was thinking we'll do something a little bit different today, just to keep it a little bit more, just to streamline things a little bit. And a lot of the things we talked about last episode are coming up already. We've already talked about them, like the games and the movies for February. So for today, I think we should just blitz through some of the news that's occurred over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, and then have a little retrospective, as we like to do, of what's happened in the box office this day 30 years ago, and then we can and then we'll look forward to March and similar in the next episode, because there's a few things out there definitely worth talking about that's recently been happening. So first thing that came up, I think pretty much straight after recording our last show, was the news following on from the exciting rumor that Alien 5, directed by Neil Blomkamp, was on the way. Was the less exciting news that Alien 5, directed by Neil Blomkamp, had been cancelled. So I was more than a little gutted about that. I mean, I think he'd leaked some concept sketches while he was filming Elysium, and that got everyone really sexed up right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then of course came the news that Ridley Scott was doing the follow-up to Prometheus as well. So it looked like we're going to be, an embarrassment of riches in the Alien in the Alien universe. There, I've got a quick quote here from Michael Bain. Very quickly, it kind of sums it all up. What Alien 5 was kind of going to be about, and I'll summarize it very quickly. He said that this is with This is with an interview he did for a blog. Let me just get the name for the blog for due diligence, that kind of thing.
Is it moviepoopshoot.com?
No, Icons of Fright. There we go. Yeah. Icons of Fright. He was saying basically they were planning on bringing him and Newt back. And Newt would be around 27, 28 years of age. He was expecting every actress in Hollywood to want to play that role. And he saw it as a passing of the torch from Sigourney Weaver to Newt. Newt would basically take up the mantle. So that suggests that maybe Hicks would bite the big one in this one. And then he saw it as a way to keep the franchise alive, because, and this is a direct quote, because, let me see, it would keep the franchise alive and the studios would make money, because that's what the bottom line is now, money.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, that's why you end up seeing Terminator 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and Fast and Furious 7, 8, 9, 10. So, yeah, I know very briefly that James Cameron wasn't interested in, or kind of advised that the Alien franchise needed to die off.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't interested in that at all. So, but that's where it stands at the moment. Blomkamp has publicly stated that he's moved on. He hasn't said what to, as far as I'm aware. So now we're just waiting for Alien Covenant, which, true to I think current or recent Ridley Scott films, looks awesome. Looks like a Ridley Scott film, but just doesn't pack the same punch. It has the same substance as, say, Alien or Blade Runner or Gladiator, even. It's just style over substance.
I think it's one of those tricky things that you can only have so many films in a given universe, really, can't you? It's like having essentially two. Well, I know that Prometheus and Alien Covenant are technically prequels, and Alien 5 or whatever it was going to be, the Blomkamp one, was going to be a reimagining, because it's bringing Hicks back from the dead and whatever, essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I kind of almost think it's a wise decision, because you're going to have two separate strands of the Alien films being out there that being said, I'd love to see what Neil Blomkamp was going to be doing with it all. I mean, I do think I think is a bit hit and miss. A couple of films of his that I really liked, and then you've got Horseman, you're like Chappie. That just universally. I mean, it's just shit. It's just a really bad film. But District 9 is up there in my top 10 sci-fi films of all time. Elysium, despite the somewhat average reception that it got from the critics, I really loved it. I thought it was a great film. So you've got to kind of think from the studio point of view. You've got Ridley Scott saying he wants to do Alien, and then you've got Neil Blomkamp who wants to do Alien. Who's going to get it? Which one of those is going to win the contract, so to speak? And it's going to be Ridley Scott every time.
Yeah, Ridley's got the pedigree, and he's kind of the hot ticket at the moment with Blade Runner coming up and things like that.
He's kind of having I mean, I know he's been around, but he's almost having like a resurgence in these recent years, isn't he?
Totally.
And everything he does is watchable. Nothing he does is shit. I mean, I'm a big fan of Prometheus. I understand, but I don't get the kicking that film gets quite a lot of the time.
It's one of those weird films. I think, as we said to you before, it's one of those it's a terrible, great movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that sums it up perfectly. But I
agree with all the critics. I agree with everything they're saying, but I still love the film.
Yeah, I mean, I literally just gravitate to watching it all the time, and it's one of those that I don't know why I keep watching it, because I can pick holes in it all, but I do love the film. It's a strange one, but I think the thing is, it almost just goes to show you the traction of social media at the minute, because essentially this Blomkamp version came from, as you said, a few little concept sketches that he did while filming. He did Ripley and Hicks, and then he did some photos of like Sigourney Weaver with that alien armor on. He did like some photoshops of them and things, and just threw them out on his Twitter account, and everyone just started talking about how great it would be that if he was going to be making this film, and then it kind of took hold, really. And I just think they must have got to the point where Ridley Scott was deciding to run with the Prometheus films, and they've just kind of gone, we can't have too much going on in this universe. It'd be like having two different, like a canon Terminator film, and then continuing with the Genesis timeline at the same time. It just get a bit too confusing, and it's just like keep sequels to a minimum.
Yeah, I think so.
You don't have to keep churning them out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's. I remember saying to someone when they were doing the Ghostbusters reboot, I was like, "There's no need for this film."
Yeah.
There was no need for a Green Lantern film. Again, I'm a huge Green Lantern film, but there was no need for that Green Lantern film either.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Well, yeah, of course, there's no need for it. I mean, I don't mean that there's no need for it. Like, we need to eat and we need to pay our bills. You know what I mean? But I mean, you need to have a story to tell. You can't just churn out, like another Predator film or another Jaws film, just because, that was kind of cool, wasn't it? Let's reboot this.
Well, that was the whole thing with AVP, wasn't it? That it was just like, we've had the Aliens versus Predators in the comics. This would make a great film. It's like, no, it wouldn't, because it just doesn't work. It's fine in comics when you've got Batman fighting Predator and whatever, but in a film, you'd just be laughing.
Yeah. Briefly talking about the Ridley Scott Alien effort as well. As much as I like the look of the trailer that was released a little while ago, it did look like more of the same, didn't it? I hope it's not just another, expedition landing on a planet, finding the eggs, getting one attached to him, and then this alien, tearing through the ship. It's like, mate, that's pretty much every film.
I mean, it was originally going to literally finish where Prometheus ended, wasn't it? It was going to be.
Yeah.
I can't remember the lady's character in it. I can't remember the actress's bloody name.
It was Naomi Rapace. If
That's
said the name correctly.
something, and it was literally just going to be, you know, alien road trip with them, where you know they land on this next planet full of the engineers, and she's got David's head with her, and you know what jolly japes we can have. But now I think it's all changed, and there's another cyborg, which is another Fassbender robot in it, which I don't. Why not? It's like the Bishop robots, isn't it? But as you said, I just kind of hope that they do more than it's just another bunch of Weyland-Yutani people going and landing on this planet and finding another, more evolution of these aliens has taken on more pace or something, and we're getting closer to the actual aliens that we see from Alien, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, they're just trying to close that gap just that little
bit
more.
I mean, it's do something more with it. I'm not saying just do a massive action-packed shoot 'em up or whatever, but just don't remake Prometheus.
I think if they answer some of the questions from Prometheus, even just a couple of them, that will make the film worthwhile.
Yeah.
Okay. So, next one for me, which I probably find a bit more exciting than you, was the announcement that they've released, or they've found the director for the follow-up to the last Godzilla movie. Was it 2014 Godzilla?
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm very excited. I was a huge fan of the previous Godzilla movie. It had the right kind of balance for me for modern day kind of Hollywood blockbuster, and there's a lot of elements in there from the old school Japanese Godzilla, crappy real cheesy science, like this isn't going to explain anything, just run with it, it'll be all right, that kind of thing. And I really like that. They've announced that Michael Dougherty, a previous director of Krampus, he was originally one of the co-writers with his writing partner Zach Shields, and then Legendary announced a little while ago that he was going to be also directing. Now this could be exciting because Krampus was pretty interesting. A different take on it, definitely different, probably bring a different feel to the movie. But then you remember that Michael Dougherty was also a co-writer on X-Men 2 and Superman Returns. So yeah, so again, pretty much like we were saying with Alien, this could be a bit hit and miss. He's either going to do something really good here and add to the franchise and make it worthwhile, or he's just gonna, he's gonna hobble it straight out the gate. So you're not much of a fan of the original remake.
No, I mean, I love Godzilla films. I mean, films like Invasion of the Astro Monsters and the Mothra and Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla and King Ghidorah, and I mean, I must have about 30 of them on DVD. And when I saw the Bryan Cranston one, that's his name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Walter White. I can't stop calling him Walter White now. But yeah, when I saw it, I was I don't know. I was kind of looking. I came into it late. I didn't see it until last year. And I don't know. I was just a bit disappointed with it. It was almost kind of. I think they were trying to take it a bit too seriously. I think that was my issue with it. Whereas if have you seen the latest Godzilla, the Shin Godzilla film from Japan?
No,
it's incredible. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing, and it's just got Godzilla in it and it's just showing. It's just like this comedic look at these various government institutions panicking about what to do when this gigantic monster shows up in Tokyo. That's essentially it. There's no other monsters in it apart from Godzilla, but it's like the Japanese reboot, if you like. So I really enjoyed that, and it kind of made me think more of like what I didn't like about the 2014 one, and I just don't know what it is. I can't exactly put my finger on it, but after I watched it, I was kind of like, yeah, it was all right. The special effects look good. I like the bit where he gets the big moth thing and breathes down its face when they're fighting with it. Like the actual effects and things like that look great. But it was just kind of like, oh, accident happens. Let's sneak in and see what this is. big monster wakes up. Yeah, I don't know. It was. I don't
the
know.
ending was super cheesy.
Yeah.
Without giving away too much, in case there's like two people out there who haven't seen it yet. The ending was super cheesy. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was one of those films that I managed to persuade Mrs. Great Game Freak Brog to sit and watch with me, and afterwards she just looked at me and gave me that look of like, what have you just made me fucking watch?
You're doing the washing up for a week.
Yeah, exactly. Now you've got to sit through some shitty feminist theory movie, some independent feminist theory film. Oh no, what have I done to myself? But yeah, no. So I don't know. I'll give it a chance. You know, the new one. I'll give it. I mean, anything with Godzilla in. You know, I'll quite happily sit and watch it. Anything, you know, giant monsters, that kind of gubbins. I'll sit and watch it. But you know, coming from people involved with Superman Returns, which did, you know, had a couple of cool bits in it, and X-Men 2. It's not the worst of the X-Men films, but still.
No. I think X2 working with what they had to work with, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
there was no bar set, you know.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's still, I still prefer it over 1 and 3.
Yeah, totally, yeah. So the next piece of news, although I hesitate to call it news because it's such a tiny item, but definitely worth talking about, was the reveal from Square Enix in Toronto of the Avengers project.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I mean, it's just like a little, like, it must be like a 20-second trailer of the camera panning across trashed, you know, scenery. Pretty much the way you'd want to do a trailer like this, to be honest. You've got the shield line in the dirt. You've got the Iron Man hand, the palm with the flickering before it dies out, repulsor emitter. You've got the hole in the wall where the Hulk clearly exited in a hurry. So we don't know what's going on. We don't know what the premise of the game is.
Hulk
we don't know what kind of game it's going to be.
Hulk heard dinner being ready, and he smashed through the wall like a cheesy cat food advert.
Fucking bills arrived, you know. I didn't order hummus. And that was it. Yeah, it's just a. Anyway, so I mean. Bearing in mind, to my mind, we haven't had a decent superhero game, like, ever. We've had a couple that were kind of approaching it, and I'm thinking of, like, the first ever superhero game was Superman, I think, on the... was it one of the Nintendo systems? Might have even been... No, I think it was on the Dreamcast.
Are we talking decent games?
Well, at the moment, I'm talking any game. The first superhero game I saw, I think you showed it to me in Game Station.
Okay.
I think on the first time I met you. That's how long ago that was. and it might have been on the Dreamcast. I can't remember. But that looked all right. But again, it wasn't. I think the best superhero game I've played so far, at least on a console, outside of games like City of Heroes and things like that, was Saints Row 4. That was actually really good. You know, that was actually fucking ace. That was really good. And a lot of people on the forums like, do another game like that. Do a superhero game like that. Sandbox it. Come on, let's go. Of course, never happened. They're working on something else, but yeah.
I think probably the ones that nailed superhero with probably Spider-Man 2 did it best. You know, you got the big whole sandbox Manhattan, and you know you've just got all the. So it's like GTA, but with like Spider-Man.
Yeah, they actually mapped Manhattan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
a friend
those.
Of mine who'd been there. Actually, like swinging down streets, she was like, "Yeah, that's where David Bowie lives."
Yeah,
you know,
take a right.
You know, yeah, it's like bloody hell, you know. So yeah, I take it all back. Fuck Saints Row 4, Spider-Man 2 on the Xbox, nailed it. Yeah, no, that was awesome.
I think as well the recent couple, even though they're really tongue in cheek and comedic, but like Lego Marvel superheroes, that's, you know, quite a good laugh and whatever. But yeah. I think with this Square Enix reveal, I mean, obviously they've not really shown anything apart from what they've shown, which was very little. But I kind of think that when you look at Western superhero games like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and you know, the Hulk, the free roaming Hulk games and whatever, they're okay, but they're kind of, you can tell that they're really, really Western. Whereas if you look at the games that feature superheroes from Japan, stuff like the Marvel versus Capcom games, X-Men Children of the Atom, they absolutely nail Marvel like to the floor. They get it. They get Marvel done better than most Western games developers. So I'm quite confident that if anything, Square Enix are going to nail the universe to a T. They're going to get like every single feel of the characters, the look of them, the sound effects. They're going to get all of that stuff right. It just depends on what game it's going to be. As you said, is it going to be some kind of modern Final Fantasy-esque open world RPG thing where you get a group of Avengers together and you can form your own team and you go out and do these battles? Is it going to be something online? Or is it just going to be some third person Devil May Cry style combat sim? I don't know, but it's Square Enix, probably one of the biggest companies on the planet at the minute, games wise. Marvel, one of the biggest brands in the world. So get those two together and beautiful things should happen.
Oh, totally. I'm going to say again, judging from that little snippet there, the Avengers have been trashed by some massive enemy, and you, this like rookie hero, barely getting to know your powers, you've got to pick up the mantle.
That might be something to do with it. And
you get your perks and your power up, and then you get to the final boss kind of thing. Yeah,
and then maybe you get to recruit the others. I don't know. Maybe the Iron Man fixes his armor and comes back from the dead or something.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Or if it's like Marvel Zombies, where the zombies have just destroyed everybody.
So I think actually we learned a lot from that 20-second commercial. No need to buy it anymore.
You heard it here first.
Okay, I think the last piece of news, or second to last piece of news that popped up, Peter Capaldi stepping down as Doctor Who after I think 3 years on the job, or this is his third year on the job. And no real reason given apart from the fact the statement that he gave on a radio show in the UK, I think with Joe Wiley, was I've never done a job for 3 years, so I don't want to get too comfortable, so bye. And I know Stephen Moffat tried to persuade him to stay because he's a bit of a hit, and they all like him, which is good. But he's not into it. He's stepping down. No talk yet of what he's got planned next. No talk yet of who may replace. I don't think they've even filmed the regeneration yet. They haven't given that away anyway. I haven't caught Doctor Who in quite a while, partly because I'm in the States, partly because I lost interest, to be honest, probably partway through the partway through the David Tennant run, which I think everyone started getting really good, but I just Christopher Eccleston nailed it for me, and I didn't want to see. I don't know. For me, he was like the best Doctor since Tom Baker, who was my Doctor. I'm a fourth Doctor child, He set the bar and set it really high. No one's ever met it, but Eccleston came close. And he did say recently he regretted leaving the part so early. He left after one season because for the same reasons he didn't want to get complacent. But now he says he regrets it. He says there's more to say, there's more to give to that role.
Because he's done sod all else.
Yeah, he was an elf in G.I. Joe, and he was an elf in Thor, in the last Thor movie. That was it. You can't tell because he's covered in prosthetics. So yeah, that, and I think a commercial for B&Q. I think that was it. So yeah, I think he's coming back as a Cyberman. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's the other piece of news. I mean, I'm not sure what to say about that, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's always sad when a Doctor Who goes, when a Doctor goes, even if I'm not a fan of the Doctor. And I always want to see the regeneration. There's always like it's like a little piece of your childhood, even at 45, another little piece of your childhood sleeping away when another Doctor goes. It is like, I can't think of an equivalent, but like I just did there, you equate, who you are. At least guys in our kind of fraternity do. You equate who you are with who your Doctor is. I'm a John Pertwee kid. I was a Tom Baker kid. It's like, yeah. So, any thoughts on that at all?
No, I mean, I've got to be perfectly honest and say here that I haven't watched any of the new Doctor Who. I think I watched a little bit when Christopher Eccleston was in it, but it was for me, like you said, Doctor Who for me was Tom Baker. When I was a kid, it used to be like fish and chips. Sit down, watch Doctor Who. You know, it was great then. But yeah. I've gotten, I don't know, I've just got no interest in it. And it might sound blasphemous to some people out there, but I've got no interest in it whatsoever.
I tried to introduce my wife to it because she's never seen it, and we have it on Netflix here. And it starts with the Christopher Eccleston with the reboot. I was like, oh, mate, you've got to see this. You're going to love it because they're going to love the Eccleston Doctor. And we started watching. I think we got 2 or 3 episodes into it, and my wife's like, what? And even I was like a little bit, yeah, okay. You know, you don't get the Autons the way I get the Autons.
Yeah. I think I don't get Doctor Who the same way as I don't get Thunderbirds. You know, like I watched it when I was a kid, but like now I just, you know, it was just something that was on when I was a kid or whatever. But I know that it's got big fans. I know that, you know, the ratings are through the roof. I know that some of the writing in it is meant to be really, really good. You know, the way that they've sorted some of the storylines out and things like that. But I'm just not interested. But I do get why. What's his face? I want to call him Malcolm Tucker then. Capaldi.
Yeah.
I want, you know, you can understand it though, because you know it's kind of, he's been in, he's done it, and you know he wants to get out while he's still, you know, only played Doctor Who for a while, which I think is like the best thing to do with Doctor Who. It's when you're sitting around being like you know. Ian Beale or something like that you're just you're in the show forever and no one can see you as anything else.
You've been here since you were 10.
Yeah, for anyone outside of the UK who doesn't get what I'm talking about there, it's just a long-running soap opera where some character has been in it since the very first episode and he's never done anything else apart from being this character.
We have EastEnders here, but it's on like public television, and I think they're about a year, maybe 18 months behind.
Oh, okay.
So we haven't got Danny Dyer yet.
Still got Den and Angie in it.
Yeah, I actually saw one.
Still got Mehmet from the cafe in it.
I think the last one I saw was a few months ago, and I just landed on it by accident. I think they were actually planning Den's murder. That's how long ago that was. So yeah, we're a little while ago. Yeah, they hadn't even put him under the steps yet.
Down the Dagmar. Anyway, how are we getting onto EastEnders?
Yeah, you know, this gives me an idea. Let's do an EastEnders episode.
Yeah, let's do an EastEnders episode. You'll all be tuning in for that.
Okay, I think the last bit really we need to talk about, which was a bit of a shock. I think it was the last episode we talked about how it may be a bad sign that Ben Affleck, playing the Batman, was also going to direct the Batman. And then we thought maybe it was a bad sign he was stepping down from directing the Batman. So he could, in air quotes, concentrate on the role. Now, I speculate. I can't remember if it was on our Facebook group. That's the Facebook group being at Dial N for Nerd Podcast. Maybe I was taking that as a bad sign. There's all the rumours about Wonder Woman being a bit sketchy, although there's alternate rumours that it's actually been really good. And there's also rumours about rewrites and reshoots for the Justice League movie, which is looking very sketchy. So was Ben Affleck stepping down as a director? Was that a sign that things were just, you know, I need to put myself more of an employee role than a managerial kind of, I've got responsibility for this dog turd kind of role.
Yeah.
You know? And then just before, I think maybe like 2 days ago, came the announcement that, or the rumour that he was stepping away from the DC universe, the cinematic universe altogether following this film. So I'm not sure if that rumour is true yet. I should really look into that. I know there's also a petition going online for Zack Snyder to direct the Batman. Because we all know that the relationship there between Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder, that will keep him on board. This is all ringing alarm bells for me. I don't think Ben Affleck, some people don't like him, some people, you know, are fans. I can take him or leave him. I think it was a good fit for this kind of Batman. But he doesn't tend to choose bad roles if you exclude Chasing Amy, which he did as a favour to Kevin Smith. He knows what he's doing. He knows his way around a film. So if he's stepping away from this, again, this doesn't sit well with me. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I don't think they've actually said that he's not actually playing the role of Batman, have they? Am we getting that right?
I think he's still in for this film. He's still in for the Batman.
That's he's just not directing it or this kind of thing. And I think maybe again it might be, I don't know. It may very well be a way of distancing himself from it. So if it does turn out to be a bit of a dud, he can just say, well, I'm just an actor. I was just, doing what I was directed to do or whatever. Because I do want to see a solo Affleck Batman film.
Yeah.
I'm the same as you. I like Ben Affleck. I don't hate him. He's not my favourite actor. But, I thought that in Batman, in Batman vs Superman, he played it quite well. And, I want to see him have a go at the solo film. But, directional wise, I don't know why he's bailed. It could be indicative of something worse that's going on, because just from, I know we've spoke about this the past few times, but it's always come up that DC are just having real problems with the cinematic universe. Everything that's coming out is dud. Everything's getting reshot. It just makes you think how much interaction and interference Warner Brothers are doing, or with all of are they sticking the nose in too much? I think it was on Red Letter Media where they were talking about this kind of thing, where they hire in all of these young upcoming directors that have had success with smaller independent films, and they get them to all of a sudden come in and do these really big budget films because of the skills that they've shown in these smaller projects, and then they basically just come in and tell people how to make the film. And that's kind of what ends up ruining it, because you need to have so many reshoots. Whereas a certain, I think this happened with the last Fantastic Four film, didn't it? Apparently,
and as well.
Apparently the films that the directors initially wanted to make were so different to what you saw on screen, because the studio just came in and just changed everything around and ordered all of these reshoots. So I have a feeling that Affleck's just bailed, just so he's basically just playing the role of Batman. He's got no other responsibilities apart from that. And should it turn out to be a dud, because you've got to, even though the cinema, the big bods, the executives are giving you, let's say, 150 million to make this film. If you've got them looking over your shoulder and saying, we don't like this, we want more of this, that and the other, it's not your film. So I'd probably be the same. I'd be like, you know what, I'll do the Batman thing and then just bail out straight afterwards.
Yeah, totally.
I think the fear for me is that when I first heard this, I thought, oh shit, Affleck's gone. That's going to mean another Batman, another scene of bloody Martha Wayne's pearls going flying over the screen. But it seems like it's not. It seems like he's just stepping down from the directorial role. So yeah, I don't know. It's all just a mess, isn't it? The DC. It's They don't know what they're probably sitting there thinking. Chris Nolan will come back, please.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Fucking Joel Schumacher, will you come back? You can have all the neon you want.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a bulk discount on neon for you, and lots of nipples for the suits as well.
It makes me long for a time when they used to finish a film before they started filming it.
Yeah.
The actors were in place, the script was finished.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's always been a bit of tweaking going on. But I think really it was with the advent of focus groups and things like that. That's when things used to get, that's when the reshoots and the rewrites came in.
Yeah.
And I think, again, because of CG, although I'm sure it's still expensive, it's just a heck of a lot easier. We're just gonna. I know this is one of the major gripes of people like Viggo Mortensen on the Lord of the Rings films. He just got sick to death of all the reshoots, and I think they filmed the whole trilogy in 8 months and spent the next 6 years doing reshoots. And he got very frustrated with that. And it's and again this is where I think DC also let themselves down. They lack the courage of the conviction. You hire this new talent, let him, you get Ben Affleck to direct. Not a new talent, but bloody hell, it's Ben Affleck.
But yeah, it's new. It's new for the universe, isn't it? It's...
Yeah. I mean, and you did it with Chris Nolan. You let him run with it.
Yeah.
And he didn't let you down. So if you get a known quantity like Ben Affleck, let him run with it.
Yeah.
Write the film, done. Don't wait for a room full of people to say, well, I wasn't really sure about that bit with Harley Quinn.
Yeah, exactly.
Why isn't Harley Quinn in it? Get her on the phone quick.
How is this going to go down with the 12-year-old female demographic?
Yes,
Who cares? It's Batman.
Yeah, and a lot of it now is, how will this go down in China?
No, exactly, and that's like the big thing. This is why Transformers still keep getting made, because they're just. They always have a bit in China where they're having a scrap, and it's just like big bucks over there. So these emerging markets, it'll be India and everything next. So.
Yeah. So funny, talking about Batman and talking about there aren't any decent superhero games. It turns out probably the only place to find a decent superhero or Batman thing is on a console. It's actually on a computer game. There's a new Arkham game on the way. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Well, apparently there was a tweet from, I think it was IGN France, and they tweeted a teaser from Warner Brother Games, which basically said save the date, and the date was March the 8th of this year. So about 2 months' time, and. Lots of people were initially speculating that this is a new Arkham game, because they did exactly the same for Arkham Origins and Arkham City. It said save the date with the same kind of logo that they use, this kind of like shattered, broken Warner Brothers logo. So there's essentially two games that they're thinking that it may be. One is either a new Arkham game or a new Shadow of Mordor game, which both of them are apparently being made, because I think one of the voice actors from Shadow of Mordor actually put on their CV that they've been doing voice work for Shadow of Mordor too. So unless they've done all that and they've canned it straight away, we know that game is coming out at some point, which I'm really happy for, because I love that game. But yeah, there was originally a rumour, I think it was in November last year, I think Kotaku or Polygon broke it, where they've heard these rumblings of this new Arkham game coming out, and it's going to be featuring Damian Wayne, who I think is the current Robin, if I get that right in the comics.
He was.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that because obviously the way that the last Arkham game ended, it's a bit ambiguous to who the Bat actually is going to be now. So there's rumours that it's going to be Bruce Wayne's son. It could be Bruce Wayne, but anyway, that's literally all it was. It was just a tweet saying save the date, but it seems to be pointing to a new Arkham game, and because
we should definitely cover that.
Yeah, because the Arkham games have got such a huge fan base, they'd be crackers not to make anymore. It may not have Rocksteady making the game, because I think they said that their Arkham was a trilogy and then that was going to be it. But chuck several £100 million at them, and I'm sure they could be tempted out of retirement. Just leave the Batmobile out of it, because that blew.
So wrapping up, as we like to do. This day, or this weekend, this opening weekend in 1987, 30 years ago, our prime cinema going, when the nerds were formed in our embryonic stage.
Or watching things on pirate video, as I used to watch.
Yeah, you know what I mean, from Bubbles in Hyson Green, Nottingham. Yeah, you got E.T. No, we haven't got E.T. It's not released yet. Come round the back. Yeah. Anyway.
Halcyon days.
We're aiming for a very specific demographic with this podcast. Anyway, so breezing down the top 10, because some of them are pretty much the same. We've got a couple of new entries, but we have Radio Days in at number 10. Little Shop of Horrors is on its way out now. The Bedroom Window, Alan Quatermain and the Lost City of Gold. Star Trek 4 Voyage Home hanging on in there, because of course, again, this is the advent of like home movies or home video and things like that, so movies weren't in the in the cinema for 10 days and then onto DVD. They used to hang around for quite a while. Golden Child, Critical Condition, Crocodile Dundee, Outrageous Fortune. Is it straight in at number 2? So a good weekend there for Outrageous Fortune, grossing 6.4 million. But at number 1, finally made it to number 1. It was actually released in 2006, but it's crept its way to number 1 all this time. Oliver Stone's Platoon. We keep mentioning it, but here it is. It's finally claimed the crown. Yeah, Outrageous Fortune, just so you know, is the Bette Midler, Shelley Long. Oh dear me. And that's as much as you want to know about it.
Yeah, there was spates of films like that in the 80s, weren't there? Just instantly forgettable rubbish.
It was, yeah. Anyway,
because Bette Midler only made like 2 good films. Probably both of them. She sings in them as well.
Yeah. I have to say it like Snake at The Simpsons as well, when Bette Midler does that in the Krusty reunion, or the Krusty comeback special. She has that little cameo when she's picking up the litter. Oh no, Bette Midler! I'll get you for this, Midler. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, changing tones slightly. Platoon. I mean, as you said, I think in our very first episode, this is like God tier war film.
Yeah.
And Oliver Stone had it knocking around for quite a while. He originally, I found this out today, he originally offered it to Jim Morrison in 1971.
Wow.
Yeah, the Charlie Sheen part, I want you in my film. Obviously he turned it down. But he wrote it as he turned it down, then died. So next week on Dial M for Nerd. Yeah, he originally wrote it as if I remember correctly, as like a reaction to the John Wayne Vietnam film, Green Beret, which is very, gung-ho, as you can imagine from a John Wayne film, totally unrealistic, all is basically propaganda for the war. It was actually responsible for a great many men enlisting for the war. Rather than being drafted, they enlisted for the Marines to go to Vietnam because they saw the movie Green Berets.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's kind of like that. So Oliver Stone put the film together. In case you haven't seen it, it's released in December of '86. So yeah, again, been out a little while before it hit number 1. And it's the story of Charlie Sheen back when he was actually a serious actor, before he had the transfusion of tiger blood and whatever.
And hot shots.
DNA. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. This is when he was a serious actor, and he plays like a young guy recently arrived in Vietnam. And he's in a platoon somewhere near the Cambodian border, and it's basically him and his experiences in Vietnam with the guys he's with, and being torn between like the devil and angel on each shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
On one he has Sergeant Barnes, who was played by Tom Berenger, who's been there a while, scarred to fuck. Originally I think he offered the part to Kevin Costner and someone else. They turned it down, or they weren't available, and they gave it to Tom Berenger, and he nails it.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, of course, Willem Dafoe, who featured on the posters, the iconic poster, on his knees, hands to the sky, the North Vietnamese army emerging from the foliage behind him. And he plays Sergeant Elias, who's a lot more idealistic, a lot more philosophical. He questions why they're there, what they're actually doing. He's also the little guy who goes into the Vietnamese tunnels. So, I hate those scenes. Totally fucking horrible.
Very claustrophobic, aren't they?
Totally. It's just like, he did. And again, it's a movie, so some of it is a bit glamorized. But he focuses much like the Terrence Malick film Thin Red Line, another one of my favourite war films. It's not really a war film; it's about the men in war,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to Green Beret, which is a war film. And it's just again one of those films. Even though I saw it at a young age, and I want to see explosions and guys getting kicked onto spikes. You couldn't fail but be affected by the movie, be drawn into it, and it's incredible. Some scenes in there that make you. I think maybe now with a bit of distance from the Vietnam War, we'd probably question it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But even in 1986, where we're only like maybe 15, 20 years out the official end of the war, as official as it was, it was still fresh, and it still asked some important questions. I think this is before Oliver Stone went totally off the rails. politically. He started getting into like conspiracy theories and things like that as well.
Yeah.
So he's still very relevant.
Before his JFK days.
Well. Yeah, totally. So there's a couple more facts before we talk about the film and wrap up. The underworld scene. This is where they're all in the bunker and getting hammered on weed and famously smoking weed through a rifle barrel. That was actually real. They actually got hammered. They got totally stoned to do it. Yeah. All the cast had to go through basic training. With the legendary Captain Dale Dye, who also did basic training for Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers. He is the go-to guy for military training for war films in Hollywood, and he's a total brute. He doesn't mess around. He has a team of drill sergeants with him as well. The story goes that I'm not sure if it was on Platoon, but definitely on Private Ryan, they were actually going to mutiny. he was putting them all through such hell, but that was part of it. He was doing it deliberately. Everyone went through basic training except for Matt Damon, who didn't. He was left out.
Yeah, just so
the rest of the
they'd
cast
hate him more, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And they did. Being Matt Damon isn't enough. You know?
Not you, Damon. Back to your trailer.
Yeah. I'll just go. There's some cream cakes waiting for you. Yeah.
Hanks, drop and give me 40.
Totally. So yeah, Mickey Rourke. That was it. Mickey Rourke was the other guy offered the part of Sergeant Barnes. And I think he'd have nailed that as well.
I could probably see him in that. Kevin Costner, not so much, but maybe Mickey Rourke. Yeah.
He would have scarred himself.
Yeah, it's hard to see anybody but Berenger in that role now, though. Like when I think back about the film, when we're just talking about it, and it's just so hard to think of anybody else playing that role, because he just nailed it, and it's just really good as well, because you're also in the same as with any decent protagonist in a film. It puts you in the role of the person, and when you've got the whole kind of conflict, because you can see in the film that Charlie Sheen, there's parts of Elias that he admires, but there's also parts of Barnes that he admires as well, and
it does make sense.
It's that whole kind of thing where you're like, you're in there with him, like you don't completely hate Barnes, well, a couple of bits you do, but then like Elias as well, you're kind of like, oh, it really pulls you between these things. And both of them, I mean, Dafoe and Berenger, I mean, probably two of their best roles. It's got to be two of their best roles. And it was one of the films that first introduced me to the legendary Keith David as well, who plays what's his name, King. Yeah. And there's like the scene where they're it's just before the final battle, I think, and they're sitting and having a spliff, and they're talking about being back home and all this kind of stuff, and then the sergeant comes and gets King to pack up his stuff because his orders have come that he's going to go home, and they have that kind of like little look and little kind of like shoulder rub and all that kind of thing. They look at each other, and he walks off to the helicopter and stuff, and it's just like really kind of gripping just these two guys that have been in this situation, and one of them gets to go home and Charlie Sheen's left before he's got to go into this battle, and it's really that they nail little bits like that. You always think of the bit like what you said with the poster where Elias is run out because they think he's dead and gone, and as they're taking off in the helicopter, he comes running out of the bush.
And you see the regret in Tom Berenger as well.
Exactly.
You see the regret in Barnes. It's like he's not a two-dimensional. There's a bit of Barnes in Elias, and there's a bit of Elias in Barnes. And that bit in particular is what struck me with that one scene. Struck me with Berenger's performance. It's like, he's not just a git. You could see it. It's like, what the hell have I just done? And that's one of his point of no returns. I think that's when he really goes over to the dark side, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And the whole film is packed with heavyweights as well. That's the incredible thing.
Yeah.
And they play like you wouldn't even notice them for most of the time. Johnny Depp's in there. You forget Johnny Depp's in there. Forrest
Oh
Whitaker.
God, you just said that. I forgot Johnny Depp was in it.
You know what I mean?
Holy
John
shit.
C. McGinley of Scrubs, you know, he's in there as well. Plays an awesome part. He actually brings a lot of his own. He had some personal troubles at the time. Brings that to his role. John C. Reilly's in there. Is he? No, I'm thinking of someone else. Excuse me. No, he's not in there at all. I don't think. Corey Glover, the lead singer of Living Colour, he's in there. You know, it's just incredible. And Dale Dye makes an appearance as well himself.
It's one of those. It's whenever you mention like war films, like you know, you've got like Apocalypse Now and Platoon.
Yes.
You know, they're just kind of like they're literally like the go-to films when. I mean, especially for the Vietnam period and whatever, and both for different reasons. But yeah, Platoon's such a legendary game, and just it's like going slightly off topic, such a brilliant Commodore 64 game as well. They actually nailed it on the Commodore 64, the whole bit where they're going down into the Viet Cong tunnels and whatever.
Yeah.
Going off on a slight tangent there, but the film is it's great, and it's one of those things that I don't think it's ever one of those films that will age.
No,
it's one of those like timeless films that all right, you know, you might put it on in like now and think, oh look, it's Charlie Sheen before life happened to him. But you know, it's such a great film. It just still stands up perfectly today because it wasn't you know, it wasn't overblown CGI napalm explosions and all of this kind of thing. It was proper down and dirty, and they lived it. You know, they were in this like in the mud and in the shit, and you know, getting stoned for the scenes. And that's the kind of thing that wouldn't. I think the last film that I know that something like that happened in was Fight Club. That scene where Ed Norton and Brad Pitt are drunk hitting the golf balls, and they actually got wasted, you know, to film that scene. And it's the same with that. Like no one these days would have the director say, there you go, right, we're going to shoot this scene where you're all smoking weed, let's get baked and roll cameras.
I think it helped that Oliver Stone was a Vietnam vet as well. He obviously brought some of his own experience to it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know, and yeah, they immerse themselves in the part. I know that all the actors were referred to as their characters' names. This is the Dale Dye training came in, you know, and it wasn't like, okay, you know, Willem, Johnny, whatever, if you could go over there, it's like, okay, Barnes, Elias, get over there, you do this, blah, you know. And they were totally familiarized with their weapons. They moved as a unit, they moved as soldiers. You don't see that kind of, you know, you just don't see that kind of preparation very often anymore. You know. You definitely don't see it going back to the Alien trilogy. When you watch Aliens again, the thing that stands out for me is that Colonial Marines clearly did very little or very poor military training. Yeah. You know, and all my education comes from Dale Dye consultation work, you know. That's really it. It's like, mate, that's not how you clear a door. You know, that's not how you... What, seriously? No, that's a bullet magnet. Get out of the way.
No wonder you're getting eaten by xenomorphs.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Hold him. Yeah. So for those of you out there who have not seen Platoon yet, it's not. I don't think it's a Saturday afternoon film. You know, you have to kind of steel yourself for it.
Yeah.
But if you want an immersive film that really gets you in there, the kind of film, the soundtrack does it for me as well. The soundtrack is just packed full of.
I was going to say, the soundtrack deserves a little mention as well for having some just amazing stuff in it.
Yeah, and as big as the soundtrack is, though, you don't actually think of the songs. The songs bring you back to the movie.
Yeah.
You hear White Rabbit, you know what I mean, by Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah.
And it makes you think of Platoon. That's how big the movie is. It's when Oliver Stone was actually did it. I think the last decent Oliver Stone film did for me was Any Given Sunday. That's because I'm a huge football fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a vehicle, JFK is an incredible work, you know, but you have to don't fact check it.
Yeah,
you know?
No, exactly. Take it as a bit of entertainment, really.
Yeah, exactly. And Costner does a great job. They all do a great job.
And I think the thing is, if anyone listening there hasn't seen Platoon, I wouldn't even think of it as being like a film from 1986. You know, just like watch it as if it was made today. Really, don't think of it as like being an old film, because it completely stands up. As we're saying, there's nothing about it that's really, really dated, because it's a historical film essentially.
Yeah, no, go for it. I would thoroughly recommend that. If not this weekend, next weekend. Great, another podcast in the books. Thank you very much for listening. I think we're getting better. I'm enjoying it. So our next podcast you can expect probably around the 21st or 22nd of February. We'll be talking about games and movie releases for March. We'll of course be looking back on the films of 1987 and when films used to be finished before they were filmed. And I dare say there'll be a couple of surprises in there as well. You can find us on Twitter at Dial N Podcast, where we often share stuff, and as I said in the last episode, we'll often beat some of the bigger guys to the news. So definitely worthwhile following us there. You can find us on Facebook, Dial N for Nerd Podcast. I'm also working on another podcast, but that's going to be later this year, where I'll be tracking and journaling my journey as I teach myself astrophysics. So that's definitely for the nerds. So I'll let you know more about that. But in the meantime, Tony, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter as Game Freak Blog. That's all one word. Game Freak Blog. Brilliant.
Thank you very much to, of course, Pyramid Eon Arts for our awesome theme tune and our artwork. They do great work. They will do work on our other podcasts as and when they happen. And until then, hit the subscribe button. Leave us a comment. What do you think of Platoon? What do you think of what's going on with Ben Affleck? Are we totally off the mark with DC movies? Of course not. But go for it. We want to hear from you. Hit the subscribe, share it, and we shall see you around the 21st. Why not? Take it easy.
Take care, guys.